Picks and Bets. I am your host, DJ Mitchell, here to go over the 5-game NHL DFS slate. And I guess all the picks and the bets along the way. If you're watching this video, you're seeing the unveiling of my newest jersey, Vegas Golden Knights, Marc-Andre Fleury, the gold jersey for Vegas. It is a one I've kept an eye on for a while. They had a really good deal. It is the authentic version. I got it off Fanatics though, but it is not the Fanatics. I would never. They had it on sale for like $65. I had a $50 gift card I was just like, I'm grabbing it. So really excited. It's a good slate to wear it. Hopefully brings Vegas some luck against a team they don't need a lot of luck to beat in Arizona, but we're going to get to that. First off, rate, review, do all that stuff. You know how to do it. Just do it. It helps us. It's like the only thing we're asking for. But yeah, this is a really exciting slate. There's a ton of 6 over-unders. A lot of interesting news and notes I want to get to, so I don't want to waste anyone's time. Let's get right into it right now with San Jose on a back-to-back against the New York Rangers. So, I mean, this is an interesting one. It's a 6 over-under, probably more to do with San Jose on a back-to-back, and then probably assuming it won't be Shesterkin in that. I am really hesitant to take the over here without the knowledge that Georgiev's 100% the starter. I don't think we have it as of now. We might get it early on Friday. And like, that might be something where it's like, all right, well, we got the news, let's jam the over because Georgiev's been pretty bad, but I just don't really think the Rangers are a bottomless pit as they played like for a while before they had some time off. And then they get some time off again because they had some Islanders games that got canceled. So I really kind of like the under here. You have a back-to-back San Jose team that really is pretty one-line dimensionally deep. They've found some secondary scoring from like Noah Gregor and stuff, but like, I don't know. Just kind of running through Twitter really quick on the Rangers feed. It does look like Igor's projected to start at this point. That's at least what Vince Mercogliano said. Thank you, Vince, for that little note there. He said he's the first goalie off, which generally means the starter. I'm thinking I'm probably just looking at that under. It's pretty nice. You get a team, like I said, in San Jose, they put up some shots. Their pace isn't terrible, but on a back-to-back, this under just feels like one of the better bets of the night. I don't know if it's going to stay at 6. We might find it at 5.5 later, but if you grab it at 6, it might be the right time. Just because they don't have that Igor news that I'm giving you right now. You're welcome. So jam that. The Rangers minus 175. I think it's a good bet, but I don't think I'm going to take it just because I like other bets a heck of a lot more. I think I'd rather just put a prop in of some variety rather than doing all this work and saying like, I'm going to bet the Rangers in a game that is not a coin flip. Like, they're definitely the better team in this matchup on a team with a back-to-back with Igor and net. But this is minus 175 was really going to hurt your equity in parlays. And it kind of is nearing towards parlay fodder at that point. Once you get to the higher twos, it really gets there, but I'm just not really that interested. And the main reason being why is because we're missing, Barclay Goodrow didn't skate. He could be in, we don't know yet. McKegg is out, Rooney's out. We're looking at kind of a 5-guy core in Zibanejad, Panarin, Strome, Kreider, and Kakko that are getting all the run. And after that, it's pretty weak. I mean, Goodrow played last game, probably plays. Rooney played last game. I'm guessing he plays as well. But I'm just not really interested in betting on this top 6 getting the job done. Again, they did hit the under last time out, and when the Rangers got up, they really, really took their foot off the gas. It kind of burned me in a lot of my props because I had some Rangers props with like Kreider and Strome. And even though Strome had 18 minutes in power play one time, he had 0 shots on net. They just took their foot completely off the gas once they got up. They sat back and they tried to play defense. I'm not interested in any of that. So not a lot of good DFS fantasy goodness here. The one piece of news we have on the Sharks is that Weatherby is going to return to the lineup against the Devils, which has not started yet as I'm recording. And again, like, if you're not playing Timo Meier and company, what are you even doing here? And like, him and Dahlin, who doesn't really shoot much, and Couture are a fine bet, but they're going to be matched up with the better of the 2 Rangers lines. I overall think this game is more of a fade for me. Timo Meier, if you find it 2.5 at a decent line, I'm fine with it still, just because he shot the best in the league. I mean, he really has been one of the best rate shooters in the league. And I would stand by that to anyone but Ovechkin, maybe Pastrnak. So With all that being said, don't love this game, like the under, not going to bet the money line. So New Jersey at Winnipeg is our next one. It is as of right now, the same exact odds. Winnipeg minus 175. I like it more than the Rangers. Not by an incredible amount, but I think I'm just higher on Winnipeg overall. They did actually run a skate before I am recording now, and I have their lines. If I had them up before I went to the Rangers, they were Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, back to that again, Kopp, Dubois, Ehlers, and then a bunch of guys that don't get a lot of minutes. So the first power play had a minor tweak. This may have been what they ran last time out, but it was Connor, Wheeler, Scheifele, and Dubois. So you really kind of see where you're going to get your correlation. Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, it's all correlated. Yeah, this is what they had last time. And then Dubois with it. Ehlers is back up with Dubois and Kopp, which was not the case last time I recorded. Good to see for him because he's just so mega talented. I do think this game has a good bit of pace. And what I love about this game is you're going to get a Devils team on a back-to-back, as I mentioned, but the Devils are actually going to run a pretty fun line as long as, nothing changes from the game against the Sharks with Hughes, Hischier, and Zacha, which is just makes this game to me feel like the Devils might actually try to push pace a bit more. They might try to get that line as much run as possible and really try to generate scoring with one line. They're going to probably, I would assume, put the Dubois line against it as much as they can, but Winnipeg doesn't really seem to care that much. Except for maybe McDavid games. I haven't really seen anything where it's like they're clearly trying to match extremely hard. They do have the home team, preference here, so that they could try to get a little bit more of, Lowry and Stastny and Dubois and the gang against them. But I just think this game actually has some good pace to it. I think it can actually be fun. The 6 over/under is hard for me to take. Anytime a team's on a back-to-back, I just struggle to take it. But the Devils have played not a ton this year, it feels like, and Hughes is off of a long break with that injury. So I don't hate the over or the under here. I think it's fine just because Winnipeg's been pretty susceptible defensively. Even though they're improved, they're still not fantastic. I think it's pretty right on the nose at 6. And I like the Winnipeg side a decent bit, especially because I expect Hellebuyck to start, and I think he'll start to turn it around as well. So we'll move on to, one of my favorites of the night. I think Vegas is just pretty much a stone cold lock. Arizona does get Nick Schmaltz back on the ice, but he's not going to play in this one. It also looks like Johan Larsson is out for potentially long-term. We didn't really get exact news on it. So, Arizona, the last thing they probably needed was a couple of injuries as far as this team is absolutely terrible. I actually watched a lot of the Minnesota game with them because I had some prop bets on it, and Minnesota just seemed uninterested in the game, and they still absolutely dominated. It just seemed like they were done with Arizona. They just didn't want to play with it anymore. And that's why Clayton Keller, I kind of jumped all over the place and was sort of having his way because it was like they didn't care because everyone else was so bad. But then Clayton Keller is not the worst, and he looked really, really good. So yeah, Vegas, though, the reason why I'm really, really high on them is because they returned to the ice Mr. Max Pacioretty, who is just so good. His shot prop is going to be whatever it is. It's too low. I mean, it's going to be probably 3.5. I'm hoping it's plus money. I don't exactly remember what it was last time on Wednesday, but he's with Stephenson and Stone. Stone doesn't pass. I mean, Stone doesn't shoot. He only passes. It's Pacioretty. It's his season. Like, it's his turn now. Like, we're now. I have to refocus on just Max Pacioretty and no one else. And I'm so excited for it because he is one of my favorite players to watch. He finds the right spots. They're always looking for him. He's going to get a ton of shots in the power play. I'm going to be jamming it in. I'm pretty sure both the guys, Jake and Cecil, have both been on Pacioretty pretty heavily as well. It's just a great, great situation for him. And they're really kind of still banged up and hurting, so he's going to get a ton of run. He had 21 minutes against Anaheim in a tight game. They did try to come back. They couldn't quite get it done. I do think they'll win this one pretty handily. So you do have the concerns of them maybe putting him on the bench a little bit, but I'm not that concerned about it. I think they're a pretty good lock here at minus 245. And again, we saw Arizona, with other teams at minus like 350. And now they get Vegas. I get they've been a little bit weaker with all the injuries, but they're coming back to full force. This just seems like an easy plug it in your parlay pick. And I know it's parlay fodder, but it's not a terrible play at minus 245. It just doesn't seem right. I do think the over is slightly edged here. Vegas has been a team that a lot of models are saying to play against. And with that being said, I don't think it's the most egregious take in the world to say, you know what, I'm going to play Clayton Keller on the other side at an incredibly cheap price and just roll with it. Like, it's not that bad. He's 18 minutes of ice time. He's playing with Kessel and Boyd, and they're both feeding him with a ton of shot opportunities. Chikrin's been out there a ton, Goss's been a ton. Like, they're trying to make offense happen as much as they can, and that's hurting their defensive chances because they're giving up just an absolute crazy number of shots. So whatever you end up doing here, I think if you're playing DFS, you just put the Stephenson, Stone, Pacioretty line together. It isn't going to be cheap, but you can get it done. That power play had Dadonov and Theodore. So I think Theodore would be the stacking mate there to just put in. Nicholas Hague has been a guy that some people are liking a little bit more. He was on the second power play with Pietrangelo, Marchessault, Roy, and Smith. So yeah, that's kind of the Vegas. And I think people will stack that second line a decent bit just because of they're going to say it's Arizona, and that's okay. So we'll get on to the fourth game of the night, which is a back-to-back Calgary team at an Anaheim team, which I think is kind of everyone's, darling at this point, if you will. They've been really, really good. They beat Vegas, like I just mentioned. It's a 5.5 over/under. Calgary's on the back-to-back. I kind of honestly like the under here a little bit. Anaheim has been actually pushing pace a bit more than I think we expected, but Calgary on a back-to-back, their goaltending has been really sound. Anaheim's goaltending has been really sound. I'm not personally that interested in saying, you know what, with a team that rolled out Lundestrom 17 minutes, Grant 17 minutes, that was in part due to Henry taking a puck to the face and missing a little bit of time. But regardless, they just have a lot of guys on Anaheim that I'm just not that interested as offensive forces. Raquel, Zegras, and Milano are the three guys that are going to get all of the press, all of the minutes, all of the offense. They're on the ice for 4 goals for 4 of the 6 goals that Anaheim scored were with those guys on the ice. Not a shocker. Also, 4 of those 6 goals were with Drysdale and Lindholm, who didn't see a ton of run in their own right because they got up and they tried to sit on the lead and they took off their best players because they're stupid. But I mean, as I'm saying here, that's the line to target. That's the line to play. I've taken the Raquel point when I could get it. Last time out, it failed me because it wasn't available to me on Underdog on the game against Anaheim. But we move on. We're moving on to this slate. I think that's the line that you want to target if you're taking Anaheim. I'm personally not. I'm probably not touching this game as much. I think that was a lot of goodness, like I said, in the New Jersey Winnipeg game, a lot of goodness in the Vegas Arizona game. This one's a little bit less for me. Calgary is really good at controlling the puck. I think they'll diminish a lot of Anaheim's upside, and this game will end up just kind of being a bit of a letdown. I like the under here. I don't want to take either side. I'm just not taking a minus road Calgary team on a back-to-back against an Anaheim team that's 13-8-3. Just seems like a dumb bet. And as I already mentioned, for all the reasons I already mentioned, I'm just really not that interested in Anaheim. They're probably going to be without Getzlaf again. It sounds like that's going to be somewhat long-term. And I just think that either side is kind of just a weak bet. If you give me Anaheim at plus 150, yeah, I'll take that all day. You give me Calgary at more closer to even money, I think I take the Calgary side, but I'm just not going to put that into any sort of a parlay or just put any units on that when it's just not necessary on this slate. So we'll get to the last game, Edmonton at Seattle. Now, Edmonton is one of those teams where every single day you need to check their lines. If you're playing them in DFS, if you're trying to bet their props, you got to check every day. They had mentioned earlier in the season that they were going to try at home to try to settle with McDavid a bit more, and on the road they might split him up. It hasn't been the case, so you got to be on it as much as possible. They ran a 5-2 win against Pittsburgh. I love that game. I love that over there. I did end up putting some money on it myself. It didn't go as planned for me though, because I thought McDavid would have all the shots. He had 2 shots. He had 4 points. Hyman had 2 goals. I kind of thought when I see McDavid without Draisaitl, I just think that maybe he's going to shoot more, and that's not always the case. You're kind of flipping a coin with McDavid. Is he going to decide to shoot all the looks he gets, or is he going to pass them? And he passed them. Irregardless, the top 2 lines are where you're going to put all your eggs. Barry, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Nugent Hopkins will get almost all of the power play time that they could possibly afford. Hyman and Puljujärvi mix in and out. So when you're stacking, keep that in mind. Last game, it was McDavid, Hyman, and Cassian, not Puljujärvi. So he went really overlooked. I think that's fair, though. If he's not on that top line with McDavid, his value plummets. He only played 13 minutes. So it's really tough to play him, especially when he's not incredible value. Like back in the day when he was like minimum salary on the top line, top power play, yeah, you can jam that in, but not doing it here. Yamamoto had a goal finally. He's been kind of a guy that's like, is he ever going to perform? And he finally did. But that Nugent Hopkins Draisaitl line was a bit of a letdown for anyone that would have played it. I still think it's a fine line to stack. I really think, though, that on this slate, there isn't an egregious amount of value, but there's going to be value in the last game. And I think there could be a couple value pieces on Vegas, like I already mentioned. So I do think you could find a way to get Draisaitl and McDavid in a lineup. And the game is going to go off at the last game of the night against Seattle. So at 10 o'clock, so it's going to be one of the latest games. So we might not have the news till right before. I said we're going to get to more value in the other game. I meant on the other side in Seattle. But the real value, I think, might come from the decor. Broberg didn't see a ton of run. It's kind of like, it seems like it's pretty situational. He only had 13 minutes, but he's been a really nice value. Barry and Russell both saw 26 for Barry and 27 minutes for Russell, respectively. That's pretty fun with Cody Ceci out with COVID. I doubt he comes back. We're going to have to wait till tomorrow to get all the news and notes there. But yeah, I think you kind of see the picture I'm painting. I do like the Edmonton side a lot. I think the over is pretty safe here. Seattle's goaltending has been pretty bad. And Edmonton at minus 120 is just a better bet than Calgary at minus 125, without a doubt in my mind. And it just, I would think that would be flipped at the very worst. So I love the Edmonton side here, but I do think that there's enough offensive upside in this game to where you could talk me into playing some Seattle, which is where all the value is going to come from. Schwartz missed last game. We're not sure if he's going to be back yet. Larson, Dunn were the top two defensemen because Giordano was out with COVID. We're not exactly sure when he'll be back, but Dunn was just a fantastic play. He's a great value on this slate again, top power play. And that top power play got most of the run. It was Donskoy, Dunn, Johansson, McCann, and Wenberg. Really, really good line there. I like that a lot. Ryan Donato had the Ryan Donato game that he always can have. And he had 2 goals. Yanni Gord and Donskoy are the guys with him. They don't correlate on the power play. Donskoy is on that first unit, but that was where they generated a ton of their offense from. I do worry about that line getting broken up against McDavid because I think they'll try to put Gord out there a bit more when McDavid's on the ice. They might end up putting the Wenberg line. We don't really know because there's such a mess right now. They have kind of so much weirdness going on. But the top line for minutes and with power play was Johansson, Wenberg, and Appleton. Wenberg and Johansson were on the top power play. They're going to be incredibly cheap. So I do think you could get some run out of Seattle here and put that together with McDavid and Draisaitl. Say, okay, this is the game that goes off. I think the over here is good. I like the over here. You have a very banged up Edmonton defense with both banged up and COVID related. A Seattle team that has started to seemingly push pace and been a little bit better with goaltending that I just don't trust on either side, to be frank. So yeah, I don't see any reason why you couldn't go McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, or Nugent Hopkins, put a couple guys on Seattle on that backside, get some of the Vegas 2 in there for a lineup, and then see what happens there. And I think it's a fair enough bet. I don't know if there's any Seattle props that I'm overly confident in. I think that you can find Dunn in around 2 shots. That might be okay just because 25 minutes for Vince Dunn is a heck of a lot of time for a guy that does have good rate stats historically. And then Edmonton is, I keep taking McDavid over 3.5 because I just watch him play and I'm like, how is he not getting over 3.5? He makes everything happen. But if we don't get it, we don't get it. Barry, though, he had the 2 prop. He got me once. As far as he missed, he's hit for me a couple times. I keep going back to it. I think if he's in 26 minutes, if we get these same decor and he's on that top line with Russell, they're going to run that unit a absolute ton because you look down the line and it's 3 guys that going into this year. I had heard of Broberg. He was a highly touted prospect. I don't even know how to say Niemelainen is one guy and Lagesson was the other, with Bouchard, who really was only limited because he's playing with guys that just aren't NHL quality at this point. They shouldn't be here. So if we get the same pairings, I'm going to be running Barry props. He's going to be at 2. It's going to be plus money. I don't really see why I wouldn't do that against a Seattle team that I think will give up some shots. So favorite bets of the night. Let's get to that. We'll start with money line wise. I do think Edmonton is my favorite, minus 120, just not correct. Don't really understand that one right now. Throw that in with Vegas and just kind of run that with whatever units you want to play with. And then for over unders, I think the under in the San Jose Rangers game, I'll just go right down the list. Under in that one, over in New Jersey, Winnipeg, Vegas, Arizona. I normally take the under in Arizona games. It seems to hit more often than not, but their goaltending can spring the league at any point. I'll still go under. Calgary, Anaheim under, and then Edmonton, Seattle over. I think that, like I said, I like the Seattle Edmonton game over the most. Because McDavid and Draisaitl. Enough said. As far as props are concerned, I'll probably be tweeting out a ton of them. They're always on my Twitter account. They're right there. I don't, just go and play them if you want. I've been hot and cold. I was, really hot on the weekend. I carried that into Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday. Wednesday was a night. No, Wednesday laid an egg. So do with it what you wish. I get a lot of people that are like, oh, which one's a lock? And it's like, if anyone ever tells you, this is good advice. If anyone ever says it's a lock, unfollow them. Don't talk to him anymore. There's no locks in this sport. I watched Kevin Fiala miss the net and hit the post so many times, and he seems like a mortal lock at like 2.5, and you just never know. Hitting the post doesn't count as a shot on goal. That's what I'm getting at there. So I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm sure I've gone over on the time I like to go, but who cares? We're having fun. I got the new mic. I hope it sounds really good. It's a nice one here. I'll show my friends and fans. Look at this. Very professional. When I got it, I looked at it and it was like, for your singing, you want to do this. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. But all right, enjoy the slate. Enjoy your Friday. If you drink, have a beer for me, and let's take down some cash.